All right, you guys. So in this tutorial, I want to go over just kind of wrapping up the model. Now, this is going to be a two-part tutorial. I feel like it might be a little bit too long to do it all at once. And so this way we can kind of break it up into two videos and you guys could watch them however you'd like, kind of in a broken up format. So we've completed the project. We've completed all the walls, the doors, the windows, the cabinets, the staircase. Okay. It's now time to add the roof. Just delete this little line here. It's now time to add the roof to our projects. Now, I believe we have a ceiling. Let's delete this. You guys should have kind of the ceiling portion or this top portion, which is kind of acts like a roof. But the thing is that roofs are not actually flat. Even if we were to do a quote unquote flat roof, flat roofs all still have a pitch because of rainwater and drainage. If the roof was in fact flat, water would sit on top of the roof and it would never actually drain off of the roof. And then that causes puddling, which causes leaks and structural damage and things like that. So what I want to do is go over how to angle the roof. And so you probably guessed it, we're going to use the rotate tool. However, we're going to have to make some changes to our walls. So let's go ahead and just get started on our roof. So I have this, this kind of flat roof here. What I want to do is I'm going to use the rotate tool. Okay, so the letter Q and the axis point. So the first thing is to figure out how am I going to rotate it? Am I going to rotate it where the low point is on this side, or where the low point is on this side, or wherever the low point is, that's going to be the location of the rotation. Okay, so the low point of the roof, locate that area on your project. You're going to use the rotate tool, and then we're going to click on the corner where the top of the wall meets the actual roof. So that's this bottom corner here. Okay, not the top one, the bottom one. And so we're going to click once at that point. We're going to move the cursor all the way out, click a second point, and then we can move the cursor up and down, right? And now we could see the rotation. Notice where it's rotating, how I say that's the low point of the roof. So now I'm going to move this up. Now a flat roof has a minimal slope of 2%. Okay, so I'm going to type in 2% and enter. And there we have it. Now we have a pitch on our roof. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and actually design the roof a little bit more, because right now it's just an outline of the building. And maybe that's what you like. But I'm actually going to go inside here, use the push pull, maybe bring this out 12 inches so that we have a little overhang. Maybe this side I'll come out to 24 inches. And, why don't I bring this, there we go. And then have this come out. Well, I'm at it, let's just have it line all the way out. Delete this, maybe we'll bring this, maybe not. Let's see, 20, I offset that 12 inches. Not sure how I feel about that. Oh, we'll just leave it. I'm going to come out 12 inches over here. The general overhang, okay, how far a roof hangs out past the exterior wall, depends. Essentially, we have roof overhangs so that water doesn't drain into the actual wall. Okay, so that on a rainy day, the water actually kind of is pushed away from the exterior walls. Okay, essentially at this joint right there, at this kind of detail, at this connection where the wall and the ceiling meet, you want to move the water away. So 12 inches is good enough. A common overhang is actually 24 inches, so going 2 feet, but 12 is enough. And then if you want to, you could get, you could exaggerate it and go, say, 3 feet, 4 feet. Okay. Because maybe you want a larger overhang on this side just to accentuate the overhang a little bit more. And then I'll go 12 inches. Oops. Go 12 inches over here. Maybe I'll do the same thing, another 3 feet on this side. And then on the back side or on this side, go 12 and maybe over here out to 24. And so there's my roof. Now, obviously you might notice that our walls no longer touch our roof. Okay. And that's true for our interior walls as well, right? There's a little gap. So what we're going to do, for the moment, I'm going to hide. I actually don't like the roof coming all the way out like this, but we'll leave it. So I'm going to hide my roof. And then what I want to do is pull these walls all the way up. Now, how high up I go really depends on the slope, but I essentially want this wall to be placed above the actual roof. So I could exaggerate it, just throw it all the way up here just to be on the safe side. Then we'll go inside here. I'm just going to line it up to there. And I'm going to do the interior walls as well. So pull this up. Now notice that I didn't actually specify a height. I didn't say go up 5 feet or go up 6 feet. I just kind of eyeballed it. So after we're done hiding it, after we're done pulling the walls, I'm going to go ahead and unhide last. And so what I was referring to was that these walls, it doesn't matter how high we go. What matters is that it intersects the entire roof, not just the bottom portion, but the entire roof. Now, I clearly went, 2-3 feet higher than I probably needed to, but that's okay, right? That's what I mean that, I didn't specify an actual height. I just kind of estimated and gave myself some freedom or some space to be wrong if I needed to, right? And to adjust also. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to explode our walls. Okay, all of these walls we're going to explode. And then we're going to use a tool or command called intersect surfaces. And what that's going to do is that it's going to give me line work wherever our surfaces intersect one another. Okay, so the first thing is to explode our walls. So I'm going to right click and explode. Now, in order for this to work, one of the object that you want the lines to be drawn on has to be exploded. And then we're going to shift and select the object that's going to be doing the cutting. Okay. So in other words, the object that is exploded, that's where the lines are going to be placed on. The object that is grouped, that is going to be the one that's doing the cutting, right? As opposed to the lines happening on the roof. Okay. As opposed to if we were to explode the roof and not the walls, then the line work would show up on the actual roof, right? So again, we have one set of objects that are not grouped, and then one that is. I'm not sure why that didn't get selected. That's odd. So we'll select that. Okay. So now that we have everything selected, okay, notice all my walls, my group, I'm going to right click on a surface, doesn't matter which one. And then I'm going to select intersect faces with selection. Okay. And now, if you did it correctly, I could go ahead and hide my roof. You could see that there's an outline of the actual roof on the walls. And since we exploded everything, those lines now divide. They now divide my surfaces. Okay. So now it's as simple as just deleting the portions we don't want. Okay. Now notice I am doing a cross window just because it is a little bit faster, but you have to be very, very careful. It's almost, I would kind of recommend to just take the time to go line by line, make sure that you're erasing everything properly. However, if you did want to do this kind of cross window, you have to be careful. Well, what I'm looking for, or what I'm trying to do, is set my camera up. So I'm looking at what I'm going to cut or select in an elevation, because the last thing I want to do is do something like this, where it'll actually select things in the background. Okay. And or do something, like this, where same thing, it selects things in the background that I don't want. So I'm trying to orient the camera in such a way where I know there's nothing in the background, and I'm looking at it from an elevations point of view so that I don't accidentally grab something down here, right? So we orient this way, and then I'll do a cross window and delete it. Okay. Nope. And then as I'm doing this, you always have to make sure that you don't accidentally delete something you didn't want to delete. So let me undo this. That's odd. For some reason, this didn't get selected. But I can go ahead and just draw the line here. And that gave me a surface because it enclosed. It's recognizing all of these lines. Okay, but now when we move the camera, there we go. Perfect. Now it's actually, I did kind of this quick sweep of the surfaces, but really it's all of this down here. So for this stuff, if I am going to do a cross window, I zoom in a bit more, and I will, try to be really strategic about doing the cross window. Okay. Or it just might be easier at this point to just delete the lines individually. So I'd say, do it both ways, however you feel more comfortable with. The problem is that if you accidentally delete something and you don't catch it, then you're going to wonder, 2-3 hours down the line when you realize that something was deleted. You're going to realize then that you deleted something by accident. And by that point, it'll be too late to kind of retrieve it. The other thing too that, I want you guys to notice is that so there are certain times where I'm actually looking at it from kind of the bottom looking up to do a cross window. And it's the same reason. I want to make sure that I don't accidentally grab something in the background. Okay. So let me just go ahead and clean this up. And I believe we're almost done. So I'm going to clean that up. Okay, so I think we've got everything. Oh, something happened here. Let me just redraw this line. Delete that surface. There we go. Nope. And just trying to clean this up. Now, at this point, the reality is that we can actually leave it like this if we wanted to. But I actually like to, oh, whoa, I deleted another wall over here. Let's go ahead and just draw that out. I'm not sure why that came out this way. Let me just reverse this face. All right. So if I wanted to kind of clean this up so that, my problem is that there's no top portion, right? I could kind of see right through the walls. I don't like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw some diagonals. Okay, so went from here to there, and then I'm going to do another one over here. And what this is going to do is it's going to, by doing this, before I click, it's going to recalculate my surface right inside here, okay? And when it does that, it's also going to recalculate the surface from here, from this line out this way, and the same thing from this line out that way. because once you create a new surface, it's going to try to recalculate and see, where else should I create new surfaces along this path that this new line was added. And at that point, it should have kind of given me more surfaces. Okay. But sometimes, it gets a bit complicated here because we have some line, there are certain lines here already that are kind of intersecting. And so SketchUp gets a bit confused when it has a lot of kind of different places to go. So we're just going to keep adding some segments. And eventually it's going to catch on. There we go. So now it's not close.